And here we go. So here we are. Welcome to the E-Project. This week, I am super excited to welcome, what I did for this series is I just got all of my friends to come be a part of this with me because I love my friends and I love you guys, and I wanted to make sure you had the best possible content to learn. So here are two more of my friends. This is Aviva Goldfarb and Laura Gross. Laura, you might have already met at our professional event. She was fantastic talking about communication and COVID, and hopefully you got a lot out of that. And I promise you'll get a lot out of today as well. I forgot to remind everybody, if you don't mind muting yourself, I should have done that in the housekeeping, but we'll save that. And if you have questions, like we said, put them in the chat. Our title today is Grab People's Attention, Storytelling and Strong Content. Now that's really wordy, and probably Laura and Aviva would slap me on the wrist when I made that because it's a lot and it's a mouthful. But I really wanted to give the meaning of marketing and PR without us kind of having our preconceived notions of what those things are, because we're going to really have a clear example today with both Laura and Aviva's presentation. So really want you to pay attention and think about how this relates to your ideas and just absorb, the overarching messages, and then we'll have time at the end to discuss. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen. And of course it's never quite perfect, but here's our beginning. And as always, I like to have a moment where we talk a little bit about the entrepreneurs and they tell a little bit about themselves. Aviva is going to kick us off. So Aviva is going to go first and then Laura will go after. So Aviva, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. When I come to something like this, even when I'm the speaker, I always just want to know about everybody else. I want to hear about your ideas and your businesses and what you're thinking about and why you decided to attend this class. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for that during the session. But thank you so much for having me. And it's really great to be here. And I know you guys have been learning a lot. And I hope that we can just continue the conversation. And I'm sure I have just as much to learn from all of you. And I'm a big fan and admirer of Sharon's, and she's actually one of the best marketing people I know. And we've collaborated before on projects. So it's really fun to be here. So thank you. And I do most of my marketing around something that probably most of us like, which is food. So raise your hand if you like food. Who doesn't like food? So before I worked in food, I moved to Washington because I wanted to try to make the world a better place and do something meaningful. And I worked for some nonprofits and I worked on healthcare reform for a while. And that was just really something I feel very strongly about still, but it was pretty divisive. A lot of people fought about it. And after that, I decided I really wanted to do something that brings people together in a different way. And so I got into food first by writing a cookbook for my family when I had my first child. And I felt like there weren't cookbooks that I could find that were for people like me, busy parents who wanted to feed their kids healthy food, but they didn't have a lot of time. And so I decided to get together with a friend and write one. And that was kind of the start of my food career. And I ended up creating a website, a membership website for busy people, especially parents who wanted to cook healthy food for their families. And it was called the 6 o'clock Scramble. Now it's called the Scramble. So I ran that for 14 years and wrote 3 more cookbooks and did a lot of marketing just through having to get the word out about what I was doing and trying to find the right people who wanted to be part of, who wanted to buy what I was selling, basically. So that's how I got into food. And then I sold that business, and I ironically started working with restaurants after all those years working on helping people make family dinners at home. But I was a little tired of cooking and tired of making recipes, and my kids were getting older and they could feed themselves, or now they feed me too. And so I started working with restaurants kind of accidentally, but helping them reach their people who would want to know that they were there and come in for events or come in for meals and just connect with their communities and grow their sales. So that was a few years ago. And then this year, my biggest client brought me in house, and we were a good match. We fell in love, and I became their director of marketing for a group of 9 restaurants that are all vegan or plant-based. I don't know if any of you guys are vegan or plant-based or have ever had a meal that didn't have any kind of animal products whatsoever. But they're
Ah.
quite delicious. Did we lose something?
No, no, no. Sorry, I had something pop on my screen.
Oh yeah, and I'm probably not following the slide presentation very well.
You're doing great. We're still on the first slide, so
Okay, we can move on. Now we can move to the
we
second
will
one.
move on. Here,
Okay,
can you
great.
see the slide?
Well, I'm looking at my notes and I have the thing all kind of messed up on my screen, so not really.
So what is a brand you love, and what do you love about them is your question.
Yes, this is my question. Thank you, Sharon. So I would love to know from all of you about, and maybe is this something that our moderator would moderate, but just think about a brand that you love. So whether it's a shoe company or clothing or coffee shop or a restaurant or um, anything that you buy from. What?
I,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I was gonna say, you could
So
put this in the chat
they
also.
are, yep,
great.
and people are. So
Fantastic.
we have Bubby's Pickles, and we have Amazon and Starbucks and Easy Spirit so far.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Oh, this is great. So then tell me something that you love about them. So about that brand that you love, what is it that you love about them?
Oh, Caribou Coffee and Brook Shoes are coming in.
A lot of shoes. I'm a big fan of shoes too,
Seek.
especially really comfortable ones that are also kind of cute.
Yes, those are hard to find, but I agree
No.
with you. So you guys, what do you love about Bubby's Pickles and Caribou Coffee? Okay, so Easy Spirit, you can order online and the shoes always fit her. And Amazon, for Amazon, Amazon Customer Focus. That's a good one.
You mean customer focus, like they make it easy for you to order or to return or to find what you need. Yeah. Yeah. So these are important things to think about when you're thinking about starting a business or working for a business. So just to kind of go to the big picture and keep thinking about that brand or a brand that you love as we go through this. But what is marketing? Does anybody want to put in the chat what they think marketing is? Because I actually had to look this up, even though it's my job.
While people are looking, I'm just going to mention that we also have a few more comments. One is about an actual California tortilla because they like the staff that work there.
Ah, very important. That's a big part of, so it's the experience of going there. They're nice to you. The food is good. The people that work there give you a smile and say hello. Totally important because we all have to decide where to spend our precious dollars, and everybody is sort of fighting or vying for those dollars.
Yeah, especially now, right, during COVID.
Especially now.
Here are some other things coming in. Courtney says Bath and Body Works because of their packaging.
Oh.
Sam says Safeway. Katie says marketing is sell your idea in parentheses and make connections with the question, make connection with question mark. Mara says she thinks of Beyond Meat because it's vegetarian. Fahimi says California Pizza Kitchen. Mara says because it tastes good. Now these are all coming in. They're not in the exact order.
So this is getting you thinking. I love it. So according to one of my favorite business authors, Alan Dibb, who wrote a book called The One-Page Marketing Plan. Marketing is the strategy you use for getting your ideal market to know you, like you, and trust you enough to become a customer.
Can
So
you say
that,
the book again one more time? I'm going to put
yeah,
it in
and
the
actually,
chat.
yes, and I think it's in the slide at the end too, but
Okay.
it's the one-page marketing plan. And it's one of my favorites for just an overall marketing kind of beginner and advanced, depending on where you are. And so to do that, you want to build a marketing strategy that will include tactics. So some people say marketing is PR, but really those are all tactics like market research or your messaging or your branding that Donna spoke about, advertising, PR, media relations, email marketing, social media, grassroots marketing, even smiling when your customer walks in the door can be part of your marketing, and your community engagement, which is something that I love. And I know Sharon loves also when we work with our clients about how do you get people to come in and know what you stand for and want to come in for reasons, not just to buy things. So why do businesses want to do marketing? And the answer is because you have a business and you want to make sure that the right customers can find you and that they want to buy from you and to be part of your community. So it's pretty simple when you think about it. We have something to sell and we need to find the people who want to buy it. So what are various types of marketing? And I mentioned some of them above, but when you think about it, how do you decide where you want to shop or where you want to go or what websites or restaurants or stores you want to go to and what you want to buy? And actually, let's take a minute to see if what was a recent purchase that you made and what inspired you? Was it an email or an advertisement that you saw or a friend told you about it?
We're just getting a second. I think people are probably
Yeah,
thinking.
of course. I see people concentrating, typing away.
I will say that and I'll give an example. Oh, here, wait, free trial offer from Harry's Razors.
Oh.
Convenience and experience.
And I wonder how Harry's found you. Were they looking for somebody? They probably know that I was going to say they know that their customers are men, but not necessarily. Women shave too. What were you going to say, Sharon?
Well, I would rather have other people's suggestions, so I'll keep my mouth shut. But quality of product or a sale, a great deal.
Yeah.
And then and John said that for the Harry's, they were looking for men. Trader Joe's, because they sell yogurt my son will eat. Trader Joe's is, I could work for Trader Joe's. I would never, because I would never leave Main Street, but I love Trader Joe's and I have to say I'm a huge fan. And they're very friendly there too, is another comment in the chat. French fries,
yes,
I hear. Yes.
Very friendly. And that's part of their brand, is wanting to help you and wanting to have a lot of people there who can help you find what you need. So those are some great answers. And so to think about it, like if we think about the example of Harry's, what is your market? We know somebody said that they might be men. Are they men who, buy certain hair products or shop at certain places, or are they looking for university students or senior citizens or people who have dogs? Not Harry's in particular. I'm thinking about whatever company it is. Hopefully people aren't shaving their dogs with Harry's razor. Or kids who love technology. So then you think about, okay, well, here's what it is. Who are our customers? And then you have to make a guess and then try to see if you're right. So then the next thing I would think about is, how do you find them and engage with them? Do they follow certain accounts on Instagram? Are they on Facebook a lot? Do they watch sports?
Oh.
So you take an educated guess about where you can find your customers, and you do some research and some testing to confirm or refine it, because you might be wrong. You might be right, but you might be wrong. But you want to get that right, because then it's going to cost you the least amount of money to find your customers and get them to purchase from you. And just an aside, which I forgot to put in my notes, but I always say to my clients, your least expensive customer, meaning the one that you don't have to spend as much to acquire, is the one you already have. So if you have let's say California tortilla, which someone mentioned, and people know that they love their food and they like it to be hot and they like the people to smile and say hello and try to get them on their email list. So they want to entice you to come back over and over. Most businesses anyways, not if you're buying a pool or a spa, but most, it depends what the purchase is. So then the next little piece is how, when you're doing your marketing, let's say you're sending out an email or you're putting out a flyer or you're creating an advertisement, what is your call to action? So sometimes people just say like, hey, I'm Harry's, I'm the greatest. But really, when they see that, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to, go ahead.
I was just sorry to interrupt, but we did actually get a comment in there that said Harry's pitch is that it's a better bargain than Gillette, which is a well-known brand that many people know. So to your point about the call to action, it's and I think Courtney had put that in the chat also, is that, you know, a good deal is always a driver.
And that is a driver for a lot of people. And I
Yes.
saw, you know, when Donna was talking about your sort of, where do you stand on your, you know, value proposition and your branding. So, you know, in an email like that, it probably had a big button that said, try it now, or try for free, or something like that. And that's the call to action. And that's very important, but it's something that actually a lot of people forget to do. Have a really clear, simple call to action to try to get people to sign up for your email list or buy your product or come to your event. So that is my big overview. But then I thought that we would do one little exercise before I pass the microphone over to Laura. So I thought maybe we would invent a made-up company. And when I was thinking about it, of course, I thought about food. And so the one that I came up with when I was playing around was, let's say you invented a healthy cookie. And this cookie has caffeine and antioxidants from green tea. So it gives you energy and it fills you up when you're hungry, but it also tastes really good, like a real cookie. So who might want to buy a cookie like that? Does anyone have any guesses? You do. and I'm glad that David wants to buy that, but I'm also wondering if it might be a certain segment of people.
We've got the chat is wide open here. And while we're waiting,
I was thinking, you know, and I can always keep talking. So maybe it's people who work out.
People who like sweets, sorry.
People who like sweets, yes, people who like cookies.
Something that tastes great, all natural and no calories. Health conscious folks, healthy people who care about being fit. Sorry, I was on a roll.
No, exactly. So maybe you'd want to find people who go, maybe you'd want to do a tasting at a certain yoga studio and get people to try your cookies and then help get their information, their email address, so you can follow up with them and try to sell them your cookies. So it's just a little bit about finding, once you have a product, figuring out, well, who wants a product like that? What else do those people like? And where do they hang out? I mean, right now we all hang out at home on Zoom, but in normal other times, maybe they would be going to certain stores or certain places or certain events. Like sometimes you might want to, you know, there are different events where a lot of people attend, and there are some companies that say, I'm going to try to give away my cookies at this event, or I'm going to sell my cookies at this event. But you have to decide, is this an event where people who would be drawn to your product would be likely to go, or is it not quite a fit because it's expensive to do something like that? And same with advertising. You know, you can lose a lot of money. You want to start small, but also try to guess and try to find your people. And then once you find your people who love your cookie, then you want to get them to help them tell their friends about your cookie so that they can help you draw in more customers. So that's just an example of a way that we can think about marketing as we develop our own products.
Oh, Aviva, that was awesome. And you rocked through that, by the way. You kept that moving. That was awesome. And we had interaction too. That was awesome. So what we're going to do now is we are going to jump right into Laura. She's going to do about herself and jump into her piece. And then we'll have time at the end to dig in a little bit to these concepts and really think about, you know, how we understand them. Okay. So I'm going to move along here, and Laura, why don't you kick it off? We're excited to learn more about you.
Great, thanks, Aviva. That was so good, and you wound it up. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's always fun to tag team with other people. So I'll tell you a bit about myself. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, in a house that was always news focused, whether it was reading the newspaper, watching TV during dinner, which probably wasn't always very good. And I ended up being a journalism major in college and really following my passion to help people in mission-driven work. So I worked in campaigns. I worked for the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Center. I actually worked at National Public Radio, so although I never practiced journalism, I did PR for a journalism organization. I worked for the US government, and then I started my PR firm, Scott Circle Communications, 14 years ago. I used to have a studio apartment at Scott Circle in DC, so that's the name. And since then, my business has grown, my family has grown, so I've moved away from Scott Circle. We work with really mission-driven clients, associations, nonprofits, advocacy organizations, and purpose-driven companies. I have worked with small businesses in the past. When I first started, I worked with a clothing store. I worked with a nightclub, a nail salon. We've worked with tech startups as well. But I decided to really go back to my passion of mission-driven work. It's how I grew up, and something that I'm passionate about as well, which is also why I'm living here in DC, as Aviva mentioned as well. We do, as a public relations firm, and I'll get into this in a little bit, and now the line is so thin, and Aviva, maybe you and I could talk about this later, during Q&A, between PR and marketing these days, that sometimes we share responsibilities. I always like to say PR comes in after there's a marketing plan. So after we really know who we're targeting and who's going to buy this product or advocate for this issue, we can come in and implement a lot of those things and continue the reputation that the marketing team continues as well. So we work on communication strategy, media relations, talking points, social, digital media, content creation, and thought leadership. We work on maintaining a positive relationship for your company using different tactics and messaging and talking points. And Sharon, can we go to the next slide?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. And just again, we maintain a positive reputation for your company, still targeting your customers and or your advocates or associates or members or what have you to really advocate for you as well. I sort of feel this is all a bit, but here's the difference between PR and marketing. And Aviva, feel free to jump in if you have any thoughts as well. This just doesn't have to be about PR. Is Marketing is focused on promoting a specific product, service, or an idea and increasing sales, where PR is focused on maintaining a positive reputation for the company. So a lot of times PR people are also brought in to help with crises. If something bad is happening, how do they help message to get out of that as well? And as I mentioned here, it's getting blurrier and blurrier. So then here's my next slide that's a little more visual. And Aviva, so here's was the difference of how I sort of split it all up. Marketing is a lot of the advertising campaigns. I don't do advertising. I don't know about paid advertising. I would partner with somebody that does. We would still be targeting the same audience. I just do it through media relations or creating content for social media versus buying that ad space as well. But we're still going after the same end goal. And developing more materials and branding. Aviva, do you do a lot of branding as well? And coming up with taglines? You don't, you just do the marketing. Got it.
Yeah, that's actually the one piece that, well, one of the pieces that I really don't touch.
Yeah, I don't either. So, and then like we said,
but we know we can call Donna Oetzel.
There we go. And then on the PR side, we, as I said, maintain those relationships by maintaining company messaging, speaking opportunities, awards. We do media relations too to continue the reputation and with influencers also. Aviva, do you have any other differentiators there?
Well, you know, one thing that I'm working on right now is I've realized that one big piece of overlooked PR is internal PR for a company like ours that has hundreds of employees. And I'm wondering, you know, I think that fits into the PR, but it's something that I'm just trying to fit into the plan.
You know what? You're right, especially nowadays when you have to communicate with employees so much about safety and health. coming
And
back.
Black Lives Matter.
And Black Lives Matter. We're doing a lot of that for our clients as well. I left that out. So I thank you very much.
It's just something, it's brand new to me too, but we'll talk.
We do a lot of internal communications. That's also sometimes left up to HR departments as well. There's sort of a fine line there also. So we're communicating a lot of that also. Thanks, Aviva. But what I'm going to talk about as well is storytelling. What tells a lot about your business and about you is why did you start this business? People want to see someone passionate. We've all seen, or at least a lot of us have probably seen Shark Tank, and they always say that these sharks invest in the entrepreneur. The product can be good, but they really want to make sure the entrepreneur has what it takes. And so there's a lot of storytelling that goes on telling your story. I started off my presentation by telling you about why I grew up and how I grew up and why I work with mission-driven clients. So here's some things that make a good story, and think about why you started your businesses. Paint a visual picture. Usually I go into a little bit more of an explanation. Some of you were on my last presentation where I say, I remember getting off the school bus after school and picking up, they had afternoon newspaper delivery. That's how old I am. Picking up the newspaper at the bottom of my driveway and bringing it in the house. So you can really get a visual of a little kid getting off the school bus and picking up the newspaper, or having the TV on
do that.
dinner. What? You still do that?
I still do that.
I do it too. We still get the paper. It's the only subscription I won't like try to get a bargain on. I feel like I'm invested in the Washington Post. I'm happy to pay them. And also you had to visit me watching news during dinner, for better or worse. Now nobody does it, but back then we did. And I remember Peter Jennings on ABC News as the anchor, really talking about the news. So it was a personal story about me as well. And maybe something relatable. Aviva just said, I still do that. So that was relatable to Aviva. And also being authentic. You don't trust someone who's not being authentic, who's being phony, who you sort of selling you a bill of goods that isn't any good. You want someone who's extremely passionate. And that's also what those sharks look for in Shark Tank as well.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So here's some other founder stories that I think we're all really familiar with. Apple, Steve Jobs started the company out of his garage, and everyone knows that. You can pick it, and it helps to talk about innovation and how he really started this company. And Apple's known for innovation. There's Patagonia, which might not be so familiar to everybody, but they sell a lot of outdoor equipment, whether it's jackets or pants. They might sell tents and some other stuff. But you know that the founder's very passionate about the outdoors. And now they also support some mission-driven work on the side, advocating for wildlife refugee, I think is what it is, or forest lands as well. So Patagonia really has a good story also. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook out of Harvard in his dorm room so people could connect. And Facebook's all about connection. Now it's become about a few other things, but at the beginning it was all about connection. But Facebook's really a bunch of programmers getting everybody, sitting on their computers programming and making sure, I'm not a programmer, making sure everything's working. It's not people shaking hands or liking things. Think about what Facebook really is. But to most people, it's connection, because that story of Mark Zuckerberg starting it out of his dorm. Can anyone think of any other really good stories or founder stories or companies where you've heard the story of the company before? From the founder or from someone that works there? Sharon.
While we're waiting for people to submit in the chat, Tom's was, I think, one of the very first companies that made a very big deal about you buy one and you give one. You buy a pair of shoes is given. And that, I know that has a title, it's escaping me at the moment, but that business model, I feel like, has become almost commonplace, where if you're not doing a 1-for-1, I think Bombas does it, the socks, there's a lot of them that do it. And if they don't give a 1-for-1, they make it clear that they donate to a cause. So that mission-driven theme seems to really pervade through a lot of businesses these days. And of course, I'm seeing now the chat is going crazy, and I'm seeing some wonderful things, including Main Street. I see Mrs. Fields Cookies, Instagram, I think that is, Marriott, Artstream, which is a local, I know Helleran is a good friend, Aviva. I see Main Street here. Amazon and Jeff Bezos. Jenny's Cake. There is a Jenny Cake bakery in Kensington. I'm not sure, Sisha, if that's what you mean. Honest Tea, which is right, founded here in Bethesda, or not, it was actually, I think, Harvard as well, but it's from Bethesda. Starbucks, Ben and Jerry's, Yale. Oh, he went to Yale, right, not Harvard. Thank you for the correction. Barney the Purple Dinosaur, Papa John's Pizza. Seth went to Yale. Okay, so now we're getting nitty gritty. This is awesome. Seth Goldman, right? I think he's a friend of Main Street, actually.
You know what's interesting, Sharon, is I know so many of these stories. You know about these founders, you know what their purpose is of your company. And so many of these companies are get customers because of their brand and what they're known for, and because of the founders. I wish I had the statistic in front of me, but there's a certain percentage, whatever it is, it's like some 72% of something of consumers want to know about what their CEOs and what they stand for. So, and you can do that through storytelling and why you started your company. These are great.
I'm seeing, by the way, I see Famous Amos. I threw in there Wendy's. I feel like Dave from Wendy's was like an early on.
Yep.
You knew about him and his daughter Wendy and
Yep.
how but I see Music Kids. Is that Lisa's? So Aviva, when she mentioned that she had written this cookbook, it was with her very best friend, Lisa Flaxman, who unfortunately passed away several years ago, but that was her company. And she was an amazing woman and has done some amazing things, left a lot of legacies. So that's awesome to see that pop up. And McDonald's, I see. Saw them both at Wednesday morning lecture series. Great. Okay. Oh, there must be a new owner of Music Kids, by the way.
I think she might mean Lisa and I at Wednesday Morning Group.
Oh, sorry. Got it. Fantastic. All right. So should we try this? I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I want to set it up for.
I got kicked out earlier, so I just got back in a few minutes ago.
Oh,
like the whole
thanks,
screen
Sam.
went black.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we're glad you're back, Sam.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna try and show a video, but Laura's gonna set it up first. And Laura, while you're setting it up, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen to see if I can make this work.
Great. So this isn't necessarily a brand or a company. It's an individual. John Lewis, who just passed away, has been on my mind. And I thought this was a very good way he told a story when he accepted, I believe it's the National Book Award. And I just thought this was a really good story. And if you watch it, I'll tell you why I think it's a good story afterwards.
All right, I think I got this. So let's, oh, I just realized, so I got to take my earbuds out. Otherwise, only I will hear it. So hold on. My screen so you see it better. I'm really trying to get better at this, guys.
I'm sorry, Sharon, I gave you a technical.
No, it's all good. It's a learning. Look at me making it happen.
He wrote this book. It was a graphic novel with two of these authors standing beside him.
Great. Okay, well,
about his life and his life in the movement.
Okay, here we go. Hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you. This is unreal. This is unbelievable. Some of you know I grew up in rural Alabama, very, very poor. Very few books in our home. And I remember in 1956, when I was 16 years old, with some of my brothers and sisters and cousins, going down to the public library, trying to get library cards. And we were told that the library was for whites only and not for colors. And to come here and receive this award, this honor with this, it's too much. Thank you. But I had a wonderful teacher in elementary school who told me, read, my child, read. And I tried to read everything. I love books. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Nate, and thank each and every one of you, and thank all of the judges. Thank you, National Book Foundation. Thank you so much.
He's my hero. That makes me cry, and I've watched it a lot. The reason I think that's a good story is, one, he talks about when he was poor in Alabama. They had a few books in our house. Only whites were allowed at the library. You can visualize little John Lewis at his home in rural Alabama, and that he had a teacher that encouraged him to read. And you can put yourself in his place, being in a classroom with one of those teachers that really made a difference for you. So he was able to make this personal and relatable, like I spoke about before, that you could imagine you could just imagine him in this situation. And I've read his book. He literally lived in a 1 or 2 bedroom house with all of these siblings. I mean, so it's really an incredible story, and that you can visualize this and imagine it makes it a good story and relatable. So I wanted to share that with everyone, and because I love John Lewis. So anyway, that is it. Thank you, Sharon.
My pleasure. Now, so should I go back, or
I
think it was just the Q&A, but I
had one more thing. How to tell your story.
Oh, okay. Do you want me, let me flip it back, guys. One more sec. But that means I think I just lost. Okay, I lost the slides.
I'm sorry, so I can go.
Wait, what? Nope. Okay. I don't want to waste our time going back.
It wouldn't be Zoom if there wasn't a technical error.
Yeah, Sharon,
exactly.
and
We'll use our imagination. You can just tell us what was on that last slide.
So how do you tell your story? Now, not everyone's going to win a National Book Award and be a congressman like John Lewis. I get it. But there's lots of ways you can do it. You can do it in a business pitch when you're talking to your customers or potential clients, and start off that way. Because once again, it's like I talked about Shark Tank. Everyone wants to see an entrepreneur with a story and with passion. It's part of your company culture. How do you exude this with anyone that walks in the door, like Aviva said, or someone mentioned they have a smile on their face? How do you really bring this throughout your company culture? And how do you, for those of you that might have employees, how do your employees also talk about your story? In media interviews, if anybody gets any media interviews, you'll always see when you read stories in the paper or online, or see a story on television or hear on the radio, there's always a story component to it. It's not like a new, Main Street opened you're in Rockville, right? In Rockville, you hear Jillian started the Main Street because of her son, and you'll hear the whole story. And now, fast forward 3 years later, whatever it is, forgive me, Jillian and Sharon, if I don't have the years and everything right.
Perfect.
They're opening up Main Street. So people always want to hear a story at the beginning. So you could always do it through media interviews. All of your digital platforms, your website, your social media, anyone on LinkedIn, wherever, newsletters, whatever Aviva recommends to do, you can tell this story through all your digital platforms as well. Your bio on your website. And of course, practice. Practice in front of family, in front of friends, in front of other Main Streeters. However you can practice telling your story. No matter how often I've done presentations, I always practice in front of my team so that they can help me tighten it up and make it a little more me. So that is what I do as well. And that's it.
All right. Well, so I, of course, just figured out how to get back to our slide at the end, but now you guys will have this. Now, I just want to show you before I flip back. There is, on the resources page at the very, very end of this slide, is the book that Aviva had recommended, and another book that she didn't mention, but she also recommends as far as understanding about marketing. So that will be in your follow-up. And I'm really excited. One more thing I wanted to just say, just because I'm literally doing it right now, because Main Street, everyone is sick of us talking about the ribbon cutting because we want to make sure that everybody is a part of it. We are so excited. We're bursting. But I've been pushing these stories out to news agencies and media outlets for the past couple of weeks. And exactly what Laura was saying, I just wanted to hit that home. It's about the story. It's not just about a building opening and they should cover this ribbon cutting because it's a new fancy building. It's the people behind it. It's the community. It's what it stands for. It's how our mission to change mindsets about what inclusion looks like. It's telling Jillian where we started the story and where we're going, and giving it, you know, this highlight along the way. And I'll continue to pitch these stories every time we have something new to say, and we have so many wonderful new things to say. So I've actually learned from Laura and Aviva over the years of how to craft my message and how to make sure that I am compelling and articulate and short and succinct and not super long, which I'm still working on. But I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that is the thing that matters here. It's not about the thing you're trying to do to sell as much as the product, the story, the people, the culture, what people can trust. So I think that those are the things to kind of stay with you. Okay, so I do want to point out, I see a wonderful comment from Adriana and Nancy about telling your story is a great way and making a great first impression, which is huge. I see a question, Laura, do you know Building a Story Brand, which is a great book? That was from Aviva, by the way. And I want to open it up. We have a good almost 15 solid minutes. We'll give 2 for our evaluation. By the way, this is our second to last session, which is crazy. So we have a little bit of a different evaluation this week.
And if anybody is developing a product and they want to ask us a question about that, or a business, we'd be happy to
Sam, I see your hand raised. Sam, let's go.
So I'm an artist, and I need to sell some of my stuff, but I don't know how the best way to do it. Like all my collages and my other stuff that I have.
Oh, have you tried anything yet?
I downloaded Etsy because my uncle wanted me to download Etsy, but I haven't tried any other. I do work at Viz Arts in Rockville, and I've sold a couple of my artworks there.
You know, one of the first things that I'd love to hear what Laura has to say about this too, and Sharon and Jillian. One of the first things that I always tell companies that I'm working with to do is to first tell their friends and family and tell them about something that they're doing. A lot of times I do grand openings for restaurants. And so I'll tell that restaurant owner to first make sure, like a lot of people never do this, make a little list of all your friends and family and say, hey, I'm creating this. Here's a way you can buy it. Here's what it is. Here's why I'm doing it. Here's, you know, inviting them to be a customer. And maybe you've tried that.
And asking them to spread the word as well, to tell their friends and family.
Yeah.
Sam, why'd you start your business?
I got inspired from my old art teacher who worked at my old school, and got inspired to do. I did lots of art in her class, and then I got inspired to do more art at home.
Sam, did you create a website with your art?
I haven't, but
you're thinking about an Etsy store.
Yeah.
That's great. And one of the things that might help with any kind of store like that, let's say you set up an Etsy store. I'll bet if you search online to say, how do you make sure people find you on Etsy? How do you sell your art on Etsy? There probably will be some great articles to give you some tips.
Okay.
Can I pipe in also? Another thing is, in that Etsy store, this is your opportunity to tell your story. I know that there is a little place where you can have a little bio about yourself. So you might want to tell what inspired you, something about yourself that what makes you stand out as opposed to somebody else, and give them something to buy so they feel good that when and I'm going to give you a super quick story because it was on Etsy. I have a friend who was looking for a chandelier, and she wanted this artistic chandelier, and she saw it at a store that she was going to get a good deal on. that she went on Etsy and she found this guy that she really liked what he had to say, and he was going to give her a comparable deal, but not cheaper. And because she felt so good supporting this individual, she actually bought it on Etsy from this guy and built a little relationship back and forth with him. And she felt so good about that connection that it was much better than buying from this big box store that she otherwise would have gotten. So give people a reason to know who you are and
that's
tell
such an
that story.
excellent example too, because first it's relationship building. And I think relationships are a really important part of marketing, making sure that people know you and like you and trust you and they want to support you and you support them. That's actually a really important part of marketing. And there was one more thing that now is slipping my mind relating to what Sharon said, but I'm sure Laura has something.
I'd much rather buy a piece of artwork from you than from art.com. Look, I'd rather support you. It's like my kids are still I still have kids that are going to birthday parties where you have to buy gifts. I'd much rather go to the toy store up the block where they know me, they know my kids, they know our area. They're a small business in the community than Amazon. And I always try to get something from there if I can. And I probably pay a little more, but I'd rather support my community and someone around me.
I want to just jump in because I want to make sure we give some time. Courtney has a question. Courtney, would you like to, or a comment?
Sure. First of all, thank you both to you presenters. You did a great job. I've been doing favors as a side business for many years now, and I did party favors and place settings because it really just made people happy. Or I wanted to get people involved in some of my organizations, and I've made things to sort of draw them over to the table to get them to do some things. I have a story. I mean, I'm a mother of 2 special needs kids, but that's not why I started doing what I was doing. So it's not really organic to me to say that's the reason for starting what I started. So what would you suggest, even if you have a story, but that wasn't the reason for what it is that you decided to do?
Now, Courtney, I just wondered as you were saying that, and the little tiny bit that I now know about you, I started to tell a story in my head about it. And I thought, this is you too, Laura? And I thought, oh, this is a mom who has, really wonderful job taking care of these children, but it's also really exhausting sometimes. And sometimes maybe it feels thankless, but you found something that you could do that brings you and other people joy, a simple joy. And I don't know if that rings true or not, but it was just something that maybe there is a story in there that just because you haven't spoken to somebody about it yet, maybe it hasn't come out yet.
And my story was a little different. I started to tell in my head, Courtney, if you'll indulge me. It was that you've always enjoyed helping other people, and this is how you got started, and now you really want to make a business out of it.
Absolutely, and making people happy.
You found a passion for it. You know it makes people happy. You want to make people happy. So that's why you've started a business out of that. Who doesn't want to support something like that?
I also think, if I can chime in, Courtney, I also think sometimes, we find creative avenues and other opportunities because they're therapeutic or cathartic for us in some way. And that could tie into, look, I'm raising 2 kids with special needs. It's a challenge, which, I know that it is. And this is another outlet for me that just sparked my creativity and turned into a business, if that's true for you.
It is true. I realize that people love things. It doesn't matter who they are. They just really like getting something, or things will bring people in. I mean, people like to see, a favor. Jillian, I know you have your flapjacks and friends. Even if you gave away free spatulas wrapped up in something, people just want something, and it makes a memory for them of an event that you had or a special time, or something along those lines. So yes, it did come out of just really wanting to make a special occasion for people, but not necessarily from a story of a struggle that I may have had.
Yeah, Courtney, but maybe it's about their story too. So when you said that, it reminded me that one of the things that we're talking about is you connected to the emotion that you're giving people to. And that could be a story that you're telling about your customers. And
That's
you did.
awesome.
You pulled Jillian's story.
Yeah. I see a comment here. I'd like
Thank you.
it's a, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
no,
Courtney.
I was saying thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so it says, would public speaking be a good market tactic? And so I responded, I think it's a great one because it gives people a connection to you. And once they trust you and hear you and understand who you are, then if you have something else to say, you've already established that connection. But I'd love to hear what you guys think since you're the experts.
I've hired someone because I saw them speak. I've hired 2 people because I saw them speak. That's just off the top of my head. And I've been hired because someone saw me speak. So I absolutely think so. And not only, you want to know what I'm doing after this? I'm going to post this on all my LinkedIn that I spoke to all of you about storytelling. I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to tag you. I'm going to, not you, but Main Street. And so I'm going to do all of that. And that's what I was talking about, some digital content as well. I was just asked if I wanted to speak to somewhere about something, it doesn't matter, but I was able, thank goodness Sharon recorded our last video that I did for you because I was able to share that. They needed a video and this would be a huge audience that I could get in front of. That would be super helpful. So absolutely. And then take advantage on all your digital platforms about it. So thank you, Sharon. I was able to submit it for something.
Oh my God, that just makes me so happy. I can't even tell you.
And I agree with Laura, but my answer also is it depends.
Yes. Aviva's 110% right.
It depends on you. It depends on whether you like public speaking. It depends on what your message is. And it also depends because you're always with marketing, you're always weighing your time and your expenses and you can't do it all. So a lot of times I tell people like, it's okay if you're going to do public speaking, then really do it and be consistent about it. If you're going to do social media, do it and be consistent about it. But don't try to do everything and not just be this thin on all of it.
That is a really wonderful follow-up.
And what your audience is it going to help grow your business? Are you in front of the right audience?
Right. It might not be the highest, it might not be the highest value of your time. But in my world now at this age and this stage, I would still think, well, does it bring you joy? You know, do you like I said yes to this partially because I knew it would bring me joy to learn from all of you and from Laura and Sharon. And so that's always a big factor.
Very much so.
Can you see why I love my friends and how grateful I am for this community? We have just a few last minutes. I am just so proud of us.
Hands,
oh,
Sharon.
good. Oh, Sisha, let's go.
Sisha.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Well, Sharon, I mentioned when I said Jenny's Cakes, that's the bakery that a mother of my friend, that's in Kensington because this is part of the bakery shop that you have ordered,
Yes.
And I have to say, growing large business is a very interesting opportunity for people. Like me, I worked at the giant grocery store as essential workers where we provide all kinds of food and nutrition, but it basically is just very interesting. It's just people who couldn't find job or something like that. But basically it's just people has to just earn more money to support some a nonprofit organization, is to think about where you could raise money for, or where you have to pay money for the government or anything like this. So this is just what I'm just thinking about.
And actually, Sisha, it's so interesting that you say that because one of the things that a lot of businesses do and that I love doing with my clients is to help them find a cause and a nonprofit that they care about and that they want to be part of and they want to be connected to. When you talked about, that supporting your community and making that part of their mission, making it part of something their employees do, making it part of something that their customers know about. And so maybe that relates a little bit to what you were saying.
That's what I love about being an entrepreneur too. We support a nonprofit and I got to pick it goes with our mission and who we are, but we got to pick a nonprofit. How great is that to help people? It's like why you dream of being an entrepreneur. You're so lucky that you can do that. And it can be part of your marketing though. It can also be part of your marketing and your branding and your identity. So for a company like the one I'm working with now, Hip City Veg, it made a lot of sense for us to partner with
a local community farm that was feeding kids in one of the cities where we're located, because it fit in with what we care about. And so there's other things that could have also fit, but it's, you know, there's some things that might not have made as much sense for a brand to be part of and to communicate with your, you know, to help your customer. And we tried to pull in our customers to also be part of it. So if for example, we introduced a reusable cup that people could buy, and every time they bought that cup or they brought their own cup, they would save a little money for us to sell a cup, but we would take that money and we would donate it to the nonprofit.
That's awesome. All right, I don't want to, I always hate to cut things off, but I do want to make sure we have time for our evaluation today, because it's the second to last session of our e-project. And we, as you know, are on a constant mission ourselves to continue to improve and make things better. And so I'm going to have our anonymous poll. Your names won't be connected to your response. And after that, you're going to have two options if you want to tell us more about your experience. Jillian, just for time, if you want to put the link in the chat, if you have it handy. Otherwise, I'm just going to launch the poll and we will get that going.
Sharon, you want the feedback link?
Oh, is that do we get graded now?
That would be awesome.
Wow.
Jillian, if you could do that. Yes. So this, yeah, I guess you could say that, actually. But I
want
think
to tell you all, you look beautiful and you've been really fun to do this with. You were so smart and creative.
I love it. I love it. So there is the link in the chat. If anyone is interested in the feedback link, you can click on, or I would cut and paste that into your browser. I see a lot of kudos. Thank you so much. Really enjoy watching the video of John Lewis. Thank you so much, speakers. Fantastic. Yeah, so thank you. So now is my time to give you, while you guys are filling out this, it looks like we have 10 out of 18. I want to tell you that next week, we are actually not going to have the e-project. We're taking a small break. I'm going to take a little vacation with my family, and we are going to close it out. Thank you. On August 11th, Lisa Friedlander, who you've come to know and love as I do, who will be speaking with me about growing your business, which kind of goes hand in hand in a lot of what we talked about today with marketing and PR. And so I'm going to also remind you that tomorrow we have a new activity. We have arts and crafts at 11. We have travel with Bridget, which if anybody has the opportunity, and Aviva and Laura, I'm going to tell you this too, if you know anyone who'll be interested, there is this weekly series we have, you get to learn about other places and travel and different things. And there's going to be someone this week interviewed who climbed Mount Everest in Nepal, but brought someone who was blind up. Really compelling, just amazing story. Supposedly he's an amazing speaker. We've opened this event up because we feel so excited about it.
And he's summited Everest like 7 or 8 times.
Oh,
and once with a blind climber. Mm-hmm.
He'll be a good storyteller.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, we've been to some really neat places with Bridget, right, John? Patagonia.
Yeah.
Speaking of Patagonia, Sam, David, we've been to some really cool places with her, different continents.
And lots of places that has good food and it makes you hungry when
That's
you stare at the food.
That's right. She talks a lot about culture and her travel and philanthropic travel, and I mean it's really incredible.
Awesome. And then obviously we all know that Thursday is a ribbon cutting at 5 o'clock. Please, your call to action, if you haven't shared this, we have 27 that I know of states covered, and I think at least, 6 countries, Jillian? So if you know people that might be interested in what we're doing, share with them so that they can be a part of this and understand. And then Friday, we have our space of belonging and our yoga and mindfulness with Daniel, who is with us today. And I think that is it. It looks like we haven't quite gotten 100%. If anybody wants to do one last vote, But otherwise, I'm going to thank you all for your participation, for your time, for your interest. Jill, Laura and Aviva, I am just so grateful for the time you put into putting
Amazing.
together such a meaningful presentation, and for just being so supportive of us here at Main Street. So thank you, everybody.
You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
I
take
left
care.
early. It's just my
guys.
iPad ran out of battery.
Oh,
It's
glad you joined
okay.
us again, Sisha.
I hope
All
you
right.
have a lot
The
of
Thursday, no
success
you
on
because of
entrepreneurial
the ribbon cutting.
There's no baking on Thursday, Jonathan.
Yeah, no
Right.
baking.
Oh, yeah. And then that'll be the following week. Our last one. We're baking chocolate cake, Black Magic Cake. So,
Bye, everybody.
see you
Thank you,
guys.
Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Sharon.
Ah, you're
Looking forward to
welcome.
Mitchell. Looking forward to the ribbon.
Yes, me too. All right. Take care. Bye.